right, good evening, everyone. This is Kerry Dixie, Urban Times Magazine, and I've got the opportunity to have on the line right now an amazing author and someone who really has decided to walk a certain path in order to help others. And her name is Spencena Antwanette. How are you today, sis?
I'm fine. How are you?
Doing great, doing great. Well, before we get into talking about the books, I really want to talk more about you and how you decided to basically walk down this certain path, which really looks to help people on a daily basis. I mean, from what I've heard about you, you really have a heart for people. So how did that come about?
Well, honestly, everything really came about because I have been through so much in my life, so much turmoil, and just so many different obstacles in life. And I was one of those stories that you would tell and you wouldn't expect the person to overcome and defeat every time. So I've been anywhere from homeless to, a single parent to, a domestic violence survivor. I've been through virtually everything and anything, if you couldn't believe it, not having a support system as far as family members. And so that was kind of the thing. People helped me in my deepest times of trouble, and then there were times, of course, that I did not have help, but God always saw me through.
Okay, let's talk about that because it sounds like basically you have a very strong faith base. How important is it for basically to our readers? How important was that for you? Because you just mentioned, I mean, you've gone through everything through domestic violence to single parents to, being homeless, and so many people deal with that on a daily basis. But explain to our readers how that sustains you daily and kept you going forward.
Well, because there were so many times where I didn't have anything to hope for, the only option I had was to hope in God. And doing that gave me this sense of peace and knowing that at the end of the obstacle, there was going to be a greater reward if I just kept fighting. And it gave me something to fight for, because when you're totally depressed, and I suffered from great depression and I had a suicidal mindset, with that going on in my mind, there was nothing that would keep me strong enough. It was my children, the love for my children, and I'm a great mother, but even the love for my children wasn't enough. I just wanted to die, and I had to fight on, and so I had to, depend on God and to really know that His Bible promises that He's going to, sustain me, and at the end of every trial comes a reward. And with that, it just gave me more belief, and every time I did overcome, and every time there was a reward.
Indeed, indeed. Now, family, if y'all don't know, she has also a master's of psychology and a bachelor's in early child development and an associate's degree. Now, you just heard her say in regards to her faith and her substance in God, because that had to be the thing that kept her going in order for her to have these degrees, as well as being able to share her story, as well as her nonprofit organization. Now, let's talk about the nonprofit organization, Prayers of Salvation. How did you come about?
Prayer of Salvation, I actually started out wanting to open up a daycare center that would also teach art from birth to like age 8. And then I started to feel like I wanted it to be bigger than that and greater than that. So I had a couple of different ideas that just sat on my heart, and things that I really, really believed would be beneficial to the world. And so I created Prayer of Salvation, wanting to build a daycare and a private school all in one building that would offer scholarships to single parents or to low-income parents that that did not have the government funding, because the government funding has a wait list. And so we wanted to provide scholarships, and then we wanted the hours to be a little extended so parents wouldn't have to worry about transporting their children from school to daycare so somebody could watch them. They could be in one building. We really looking into feeding the children well, because the food that we feed the children now in public schools is awful. So we're looking into that, and we're really just trying to help families. It is tax exempt. It is religious, of course. But we also want to teach life skills and morals. And all of my morals come from the Word of God. So that will be where our curriculum for the morals would come from, would be out of the Bible. But then the life skills, teaching children how to, do laundry and cook meals, is something that working parents don't have the time to really sit down and teach their children. So I believe that that's a start. We have to be able to, it takes a community to raise a child. And so I've been looking, the generations have changed so much that children are losing skills. They can't even do, simple math in their head because technology, they have all these calculators and everything, at their fingertips. And I want the school to also be year-round so that we have enough time to embed in these children not only good test-taking skills and not only good academic skills, but, the life skills and the morals and the values and how to share goodness in the world. And so it just went from thinking of a daycare to thinking of a school to thinking of something bigger and greater and better. And that's kind of the basis of why we were trying to raise money for Prayer of Salvation.
Okay. So family, y'all heard that. This is an organization that definitely is looking for your help, your assistance in order to take this next step forward to bringing our kids back from basically laziness to being able to sustain themselves and actually have some sort of foundation. So that's cool. I love that. I love that, sis. So now I want to shift gears real quick because I got a chance to take a look at Watermelons in Row and the story of little David. Now, this is interesting because I was looking at the graphics and I was reading, a little bit about it, and that's very creative, very creative. And I take it that the reason the book, especially the story of little David, was written in regards to children and their feelings. Am I right about that?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So please share with us. How did you come up with this? Because that's the one thing I've noticed as of late is that there are a lot of children-oriented books that are coming out, and it's really helping curb this, like you just mentioned, kids into technology and electronics all the time, but getting them back to reading. So I know you got a story behind this.
Well, the story of little David, so I used to work for DCF, and I know in other places it's called CPS or Social Services or HRS, but in Florida we call it DCF, Department of Children and Families. And I used to work for one of their branches called Gulf Coast, and I was a case manager. And what we would do, we would basically, whatever child gets removed or whatever may happen, we would manage their case. And I learned so much doing that job, things that I had already knew, but it was different when I started working with these children hands-on. So I began to learn how they feel and all the questions that they ask, and things that case managers are taught to say to them, but case managers don't really have time to do their job effectively because of how overwhelmed they are with their work. It's the hardest job ever. I've even been a CNA in my past, and that job was harder than that. So with that being said, children are, from even the families, they're just being neglected, and they don't have anybody answering these questions for them. And so I became a behavioral therapist and for children, and then I became a mental health therapist for all ages. And with that, I just kind of used all the things that I knew and my talents and ability to write. And I just decided, I was going to write a book about a child being taken from his, mother. Originally, the story was going to be called When I Was Taken from My Mother, but I had a client that I was trying to help through this same process. So while I was writing the book, I thought it would be cute to add his some little things for him. So he helped me create the title. And then he helped me pick one of the characters, which was the auntie. And so I just I fibbed at him a little bit and lied and kind of said the story was about him because it really wasn't. But I told him that because I wanted to help him through it. So it became more than just a story. It became a responsibility for me to help this child change his life, because I knew that his story, he wasn't going to ever see or live with his parents again. And the amounts of hurt and pain that adults still suffer when they become grown from being removed from their, parents, I was like, I have to help him. And I just, I felt that responsibility to help that client. I felt like I had to help him. I had to help him. And so it went from that to, I know so many adults that went through the same thing, and they never had anybody to answer that question. So when I would share with them my stories and say, hey, I know you went through this as a child, I want you to read my story, they bust into tears. Even people who never went through this experience ever in their life, they all cry and bust into tears because it affects a part of their heart, whether they've been removed or not. Maybe they had some not so great parenting, and the story even makes me cry. So, but it does have 3 different chapters, and all chapters begin the same, but they end differently.
Now, that's creative. That is definitely creative. That definitely piques my interest, and I'm sure the youth that get a hold of this book as well, it'll definitely keep them engaged. So, wow. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. So, one final question, because I hear the little one, and then I know you're so involved in everything. How do you balance everything, sis?
Oh my goodness, how do I balance everything? Well, I think that I'm on schedule all the time. I have a ledger that I go by that ledger every day, and with me being an outpatient therapist, I can make my own schedule. So it kind of does me a lot of good that I can, call off work technically whenever. I can cancel appointments anytime that I want. I can set appointments anytime that I want. And so I just kind of juggle my schedule to, fit. And a good thing about what I do is that, I can always make enough money to get by. I'm not rich, but I can, even if I miss a day, there's some way that I'm going to make enough money to just get by to the next paycheck. So I just, I do what I have to do. And I don't have in my mind anything that says I can't do anything. I just say, you know what, I know it's God's will, and I know he's going to give this to me, and I decree and I declare and I say, in Jesus' name, and I know that whatever I put my mind to, God's going to give it to me because he loves me that much.
All right. Well, y'all heard it first right here. I'm telling you, faith is the substance. I'm telling you, it'll keep you rolling. So how can our readers, our followers, the people, learn more about you and become more engaged with your nonprofit organization, your books, and just keep in contact? Because it sounds like you got a word for someone, and I know you're going to bless people. So how can they get in contact with you?
Well, they can contact my publicist at imerge1@aol.com. I also have a Facebook fan page, Spencena Antwanette. I have LinkedIn, and then our businesses have Facebook pages, which is Prayer Salvation Learning Center, Pastel's Child Development Center, and we have, for Redemption Hope for the Homeless, we have I think we have a Twitter. And then on our on our website, which is www.prayerofsalvationinc.com, it has links to everything. So it has a way to contact me and my partner. It has ways to donate, ways to buy the book, our future plans, our visions, our mission. So the website is probably the best thing to go to. But any booking information and things like that would be needed, then, of course, you would hit up my publicist.
Okay. Well, family, we want to thank this young lady for joining us today in order to share with us her books. Definitely go check out her website, get the book, The Story of Little David. I think it speaks volumes, and I think it's actually a tool that will help us connect more so with our young people the same way she's doing it. She's making it her life mission in order to really be that spokesperson or someone to stand in the gap for these young people. We definitely want to thank you for that, Cynthia. Do you have any questions? Do you have any thoughts? Any closing words to our readers, our followers at Urban Times?
Well, I just want to say sorry for the babies in the background. But other than that, I just want to say thank you, everybody, for all the love and support that I've been getting. I was a bullied kid, so as a child, I had like a very low self-esteem, and I didn't think people liked me. But knowing that people support me and all the things that, I'm doing, I just really feel I'm humbled and flattered and appreciative. So I just want to say thank everybody, because I know that this will really be a great movement. It will really help children, people, families, and I'm just really excited.
And we're excited for you too, sister. You got the Urban Times family support as well. Like I said before, guys, follow her, check her out, buy the book, learn more about Spencena Antwanette. You heard it first right here, Urban Times Magazine. Thank you once again.